In the vast realm of branding, a logo stands as more than a mere graphic symbol. It represents a convergence of visual storytelling, a multifaceted emblem that goes beyond selling and assumes the crucial role of identification. However, a logo seldom serves as a literal description of a business. Its significance emanates from the essence of what it symbolizes, not the other way around. And ultimately, a logo's impact is secondary to the product or service it represents. Its meaning holds more weight than its visual aesthetics. A logo mark scales value beyond the product category it represents. Consider the iconic Mercedes symbol, a representation devoid of any connection to automobiles, yet it stands as a powerful symbol not because of its design, which is cool, but because it signifies a philosophy, a way of thinking, a design language that is clearly recognized and understood in a positive way. And in a world bombarded with visual stimuli, logos have become the superheroes of branding, yet they are way overrated. Every business on the planet has one, yet very few yield the power to encapsulate the valuable essence of the brands they represent and invoke the rare emotions that command brand loyalty. If most graphic symbols stay stuck at the surface, what lies beneath the surface of a logo that brings it to life? How does it transcend from a mere graphic to a profound expression of a brand's philosophy? And today on the podcast, we're going to dive into the philosophy of logo design and uncover, hopefully, some secrets behind this iconic symbol. My name is Sasha, and this is Entrepreneur Insight. In our fast-paced digital age, attention is scarce and fleeting. A logo in its purest form is a shorthand for a brand story. It's a distilled version of a company's values, aspirations, and promise to its customers. And in the same way that a product needs a bill of materials, the meaningful logo depends on content, a manifesto that leads to a promise of expected behaviors as its own raw material. It captures, holds, and distributes the essence of a brand in a visual representation that speaks volumes, even in the blink of an eye. Your logo will only derive meaning from the understood quality and value for that which it symbolizes. And if a dental laboratory, or any other business for that matter, if their value proposition is ambiguous, in other words, they only give the customer exactly what they pay for, good crown, good service, good price, then that ambiguity will be reflected in their logo. If one is a second-class company, their logo will be reflected as second class. And that logo will lack stickiness and recall. And so a logo truly becomes representative of your brand only when the associated product or service has been judged by the customer. In other words, you have accomplished brand consciousness. And our goal, all of our goals, are to accomplish that consciousness in a positive way, right? Where the logo now represents not the product or the company, but the human values that are baked into the product that it represents. And when it comes to the design of a logo, simplicity reigns supreme. A well-crafted logo is almost harmonious. It's like a harmonious blend of minimalism and symbolism. It's the art of distilling complexity into its purest form. As Leonardo da Vinci once said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And a simple logo is not only aesthetically pleasing, but it also facilitates instant recognition and recall. It allows the viewer's mind to effortlessly connect the dots back to the emotional connection they have with that brand. Now, simplicity alone is not enough to create a compelling logo. Again, the true power of a logo lies in its ability to communicate meaning. Every shape, color, and line carries significance, which, when combined with those elements plus a brand story, actually reinforces that story and memory in the customer's mind. The philosophy of logo design would be akin to writing like a hieroglyphic. Every stroke and curve is intentional, conveying a specific message. It's like this delicate dance between aesthetics and semantics. Let's dive deeper into the logo design and what it entails. And this would be how an agency would view a design logo project. A design is much more than to simply just assemble graphics together. That's what these online logo design softwares do. We're talking about something totally different here. To design is to add intentional value and deep meaning, to illuminate purpose, to simplify persona, to clarify vision, to dignify character, to dramatize your role in the market. Design is the fusion of form and content. So as an example for context, let's look at the new Harvest logo, right, as a case study and an example of what I'm talking about here. And obviously, we're talking about a visual element, and I'm trying to communicate that over audio. But if you go to harvestdental.com/logo, you'll get the full picture of what I'm trying to communicate here. And so, kind of some background story. Coming out of COVID, we felt like we were a different company, right? We felt like we were a different brand, like many of you did. And so I started referring to the next chapter as Harvest 2.0. I formulated a new mission, a new vision, new values. Nothing was to be the same. We had matured. And I felt like our logo needed to reflect that maturity. The Harvest mark was given an aesthetic and functional redesign. And what we wanted to do is transport the brand's new DNA into the future. And so I started to assemble our strategic considerations, and I broke them down into 4 categories. The first was the logo philosophy. I had to define what that was. And I arrived at, the philosophy was to make Harvest's thought leadership visible, because I knew that we were going to launch out into kind of content and into entrepreneurship content to help dental laboratories with their business. And so we wanted to kind of make that visible and remind the market of our purpose, our inspiration, and our expression. Things that inspire us and really what makes us us. The second strategic consideration was the logo objective. What was that to be? And that was to formulate a new Harvest visual design system that embodies who we are in form and content that is minimal, distinct, and hardworking. In other words, hardworking essentially means, and I learned this from Chris Lodgton, it essentially means that that logo could be seen on a billboard, or it could be as valuable on a social media icon. It works hard. It's got flexibility. The third was logo vision, which was to design a symbol that will optimally allow cross-media adaptability and clarity to the Harvest brand promise. And the fourth was the execution. And so the font was refined and the visual elements geometrically aligned, giving the brand a valuable refresh at the symbol level. And with our emphasis on growing our digital communication, I wanted to work with an agency on this that really understood that space well, because I knew that that was really where Harvest is going to live. And so we ended up partnering with who I believe, and many of you may know who this person is, but the number one digital marketer and brander in the world when it comes to just communicating where the attention is on social and digital spaces, and that's Gary Vaynerchuk. We worked with Gary V and his agency, the Sasha Group, and we were fortunate and lucky enough to work directly with the world-renowned logo designer, Chris Lodgton, to design the new symbol. And it had to be a symbol that would remind the customer of who we are and what we stand for. And so after an extensive deep dive, exercises that we went through to kind of unearth the brand's DNA and get it on a whiteboard so that we could kind of work through it and visually apply it, the logo design that you see now incorporates that identity immersion. And so again, if you go to harvestdental.com/logo, if you look at the H closely, you'll see that it is actually made up of three elements. The first is you'll see a leaf that's tilting to the left, and this is really our brand promise to refresh. That's what it stands for. And this really symbolizes our purpose to refresh you at the intersection of clarity and surprise. That is the Harvest brand promise. And so we were able to kind of bake that right into the H. The H itself is for our name Harvest, which comes from the biblical text in Matthew 9:38. The harvest is plentiful, yet the workers are few. And so we were able to kind of build that in. And then if you look to the right side where the right H is and you see the leaf, the lower part of the leaf on the right side, that actually turns into a visible D, which stands for dental, the market that we exist to serve. Essentially, only when the vision and creation become inseparable is when a Harvest product is released to the dental lab market. That really kind of is the philosophy of our logo and how I approached it as the leader of the brand. And then when you look at color, right? Color plays a huge role in logo design philosophy, right? The intentionality of it. Each color carries a psychological weight, evoking specific emotions and associations that we want to represent. For example, Harvest Dental's most identifiable color asset, green, symbolizes life, renewal, and energy, while gray, our secondary colors, convey style, coherence, and modernity. The right color palette can amplify the intended message and create that lasting, sticky impact on your customers. When we look at the philosophy of logo design, it teaches us to wield colors purposefully, employing them as tools to build that emotional bridge between you and your audience. It emphasizes the intentionality with regards to making the logo versatile and adaptable, ensuring that your logo will transcend physical and digital boundaries. Does your logo work as a standalone? Do you also have it in a block? Does it adapt well to advertising media? These are the things that we have to think through. And in the age of digital media and constant brand exposure, a logo's success lies in its ability to cut through the noise. And it does that by being capable of sparking conversations based on human experiences with the brand. And sometimes these are conversations your customers will have with themselves. When they see your logo, what are the associations that move to top of mind? For Harvest, we needed to think beyond aesthetics and create a logo that would be a catalyst for storytelling, sparking curiosity and inviting dental technicians all over the world to embark on the Harvest brand narrative. Maybe they hear a story from someone else and then they see the logo, and that potentially leads them to learn more about us. That said, we have to remember that the logo is not just a pretty picture, but it's an embodiment of your dental lab's values, aspirations, and promise to the world. And while design is important, and I love design, and so I'm always going to bend towards design, we have to remember that a logo only gets its power when it reminds the customer of why they love you. The philosophy of logo design is a vessel that carries these expectations, these memories, these stories, and these relationships, and distills them into a simple yet powerful symbol that speaks volumes to the world. And so here's an exercise that I would recommend you do. When you have a quiet moment, grab a pen and paper. And what I want you to do is to think of 2 brands that you've had great experiences with and jot them down. And then I also want you to take 2 brands that you've had a bad experience with and jot those down. And for each brand that you've written down, jump onto Google Images and have a look at their logo. And as you analyze the emotions that you feel, I promise you, it will change the way you see and value logos. In conclusion, you can hire the greatest designers in the world to do your logo. You can use any color you like, but the only thing that matters is, what does your logo mean? Nike famously hired a design student, paid them $35 to create the swoosh, which I think leads us to the perfect question to sum it all up. Did the swoosh make Nike, or did Nike make the swoosh? I hope this was a helpful journey through my philosophy around logo design. And at the end of all of this wordsmithing, the logo is nothing more than a vehicle of memory. That's all I got for you today. Adios.